Okay, we're moving along here. Today it's Second Chronicles chapter 26. Welcome back to another episode. We got Papa John's scripture notes going on here. Again, I'm just trying to help us get back to the original language, history, and context to try to know the Bible as far as it is translated correctly. And today we're just going to do one chapter, so this will be a shorter episode. I think that's a good news. The last one we did 4 chapters. It went longer than I had hoped. Second Chronicles chapter 26. This details the long reign of King Uzziah. We say in English. In Hebrew, it's Uzziah. That's a fun one to say. King Uzziah, marked by early prosperity, military and agricultural success, a tragic downfall due to pride. The people of Judah make a 16-year-old boy, his name's Uzziah or Uzziah, king in place of his father Amaziah. He is also called Azariah in the Hebrew Bible and also in Second Kings of our Christian Bible, specifically in Second Kings chapter 15. So there's 2 names, and that's something I learned, and I'm just trying to help pass on the message that they're the same person with different names. He rebuilds the town of Elat and restores it to Judah. So this is a conquered town that now comes back under their rule. And he rules in Jerusalem for 52 years. Wow. And his mother is Jesoliah. And he does what is right in Jehovah's eyes. He seeks Elohim under the guidance of Zechariah, and Elohim gives him success while he obeys. His ascension and early success is attributed to his search for guidance from God, from Elohim, and from the prophet Zechariah. Uh, verse 1, then all the people of Yehudah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the room of his father Amaziah. He built Elat and restored it to Yehudah. After that, the king slept with his fathers. 16 years old was Uzziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was, oh my gosh, Yeholiah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. I underline that because it's just so often the kings don't, but here's another good king. But I've restored the name. So he did that which was right in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought Elohim in the days of Zechariah, in Hebrew Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of Elohim. And as long as he sought Jehovah, Elohim made him to prosper. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so our footnote now prepares us for the next set of verses. Verses 6 through 15 describe to us how uh, Uzziah fights the Philistines, breaking down the walls of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. Elohim, or God, helps him defeat the Arabs, and the Meunites and the Ammonites pay him tribute. He fortifies Jerusalem with towers at the corner gate, the valley gate, and the angle, and builds towers in the desert to protect his livestock. He even organizes a powerful standing army of 307,500 troops, led by 2,600 chiefs. And it doesn't stop there. His engineers invent new war machines on the towers to shoot arrows and hurl large stones. His fame spreads far and wide. So we're seeing the beginning of mechanical warfare. Fascinating. So here's an image of the battles and the walls of Jerusalem. and the towers that they built. Verse 7, and Elohim helped him against the Philistines and against the Arabians that dwelt in Gubariel and the Maunim. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread abroad even to entering in of Egypt, for he strengthened himself exceedingly. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate and at the valley gate and at the turning of the wall and fortified them. And of the wall is italicized. Not sure what that's talking about, and maybe the King James translators weren't either, because those are filler words there. We know that because they are italicized. And verse 10, and he built towers in the desert and digged many wells, for he had much cattle. And that would be actually flocks. He had herds, but most likely in the English mind, that's cattle, but it was probably sheep and goats based on the context and based on my studies with other books in the Bible. So they had many herds, both in the low country and in the plains, husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved husbandry, so he loved the vineyards. Moreover, Uzziah had a host of fighting men that went out to war by bands, according to the number of their account, by the hand of Yeiel, the scribe, and Maaseiah, the ruler, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the king's captains. Now that's a fun name to say, Hananiah. Verse 12, the whole number of the chiefs of the fathers and the mighty men of valor were 2,600. And under their hand was an army, 300,000 and 7,500, that made war with mighty power to keep or to help the king against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the host shields and spears and helmets and harbingers. I'm not sure what that is. That's something I'll give you homework. Look that one up. And bows and slings to cast stones. And he made in Jerusalem engines invented by cunning men to be on the towers and to open the bulwarks, to shoot arrows and great stones withal. And his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. And I underlined till he was strong, because unfortunately, well, it's almost predictable. Predictability, or as predicted, or I'm sorry, struggling here. Predictably, in verses 16 to 21, we see what is typical of so many of his predecessors. When Uzziah becomes powerful, as it says right here in verse 15, his pride leads to his downfall. He sins by entering Jehovah's temple to burn incense. Aziah, my goodness, let me look at the proper cheat sheet. So the priest, his name is Azariah the priest, and 80 brave priests confront the king, stating that burning incense belongs only to the consecrated Aaronic priest. Uzziah becomes furious while holding on to the incense censer, and leprosy suddenly breaks out on his forehead right in front of the priest. He remains a leper, living in a separate house until the day he dies. Here, are you ready for this? I'm sorry, the plot just took the downturn. Verse 16, but when he was strong in heart, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. For he transgressed against Jehovah his Elohim, and went into the temple of Jehovah to burn incense upon the altar of incense. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests of Jehovah that were valiant men. And they withstood Uzziah the king, and said unto him, it appertaineth not unto thee, Uzziah, to burn incense unto Jehovah, but to the priests, the sons of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense, to go out of the sanctuary. For thou hast trespassed, neither shall it be for thine honor from Jehovah Elohim. Then Uzziah was wroth, and had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priest, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priest in the house of Jehovah. from beside the incense altar. And Azariah, the chief priest, and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead, and they thrust him out from thence. Yea, himself hasted also to go out, because Jehovah had smitten him. And Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in several houses, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Jehovah. And Jotam his son, was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. So his son steps up in his place, though he's not the king, because his father's still alive. Verse 22, now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah. And in Hebrew, Isaiah is pronounced Yeshayah. 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 Yes, Yeshayah. I'm going to stick with Isaiah. It's just easier. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, write. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of the burial which belongeth to the kings, for they said, he is a leper. And Jotam his son reigned in his stead. What a short chapter. What a tragic story. Started out so good. So what can we learn from this chapter? 2 Chronicles 18, the phrase in verse 7 says, let not this king say so. So if we go back to 18 in our last episode, this is where King Jehoshaphat mildly rebukes King Ahab. And when he's saying, well, isn't there another prophet? You've got 400 prophets here. Don't you have one that speaks for Jehovah? And King Ahab says, there's one, but I don't like him. He always says things that are unkind. And King Jehoshaphat kind of rebukes him and says, let not the king say so. So that mild rebuke of telling King Ahab he should not speak with hatred or disrespect about God's true prophets, the prophet Micaiah, yeah, I can't even say it. The key moral lessons we learn in this chapter include, and I'm sorry for my poor Hebrew, but I'm learning so much by getting back to the Judeo roots of Christianity. I'm doing my best, and I'm trying to lead breadcrumbs in a trail for my children and my children's children, my future posterity, even my extended family and friends today. You don't have to begin with just the scriptures in English. I'm doing my best to give a flavor of the Hebrew roots of our Christian faith. The key moral lessons we learn in this chapter include seeking God. When we seek Him, it brings success. Pride leads to ruin, but boundaries matter. So seek God in all seasons. Uzziah prospered, and he won battles and built strong cities only while he humbly sought Jehovah and listened to godly counsel. We need to remember that in our lives. I pray that we do. And watch out for pride. When Uzziah becomes powerful and famous, his heart grows proud, making him to think he was above the rules. And that's never true. God's ways, it's a house of order. And whether we understand the rules or not, we need to know our place. I like how President Uchtdorf from Germany says, lift where you stand. And I'm grateful that I stand in the valley, out of the limelight. I'm working out here at this ranch, and I get to meet people from all over the world, and we talk about God and the different backgrounds. It's quite a kick in the pants to have religious conversations about people who love God. And when they're reading their Bible on the porch and they're from back east or down south, I know they're from the Bible Belt. We have so much fun talking. We find commonality in our faith. And I just am grateful for the fact that I don't have to be in a high kingly role in making history where I can just live my life and serve God. It's such a blessing in my life. And I'm taking that opportunity and the time allowed to create these footnotes. I'm stuffing pages or little pieces of paper between the rib cage of Scripture so that you can benefit and have a better starting point than Papa John had. So again, respecting God's boundaries is important. Uzziah crossed a strict line by trying to burn incense in the temple, a job reserved only for the priest. He's got plenty to do as king. Both the priest is anointed, and so is a king. They're both anointed, but that doesn't mean you can do both. There's only one that's both prophet and king, and that's the Messiah. I can't wait till we get to the New Testament with the Hebrew insights. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, but today the last thing we learned from this chapter is accepting correction. When the brave priest confronted as Azariah, he got angry instead of saying sorry. May we not make that mistake. May we be quick to apologize and take correction. And just know that God chastens those he loves. When he sees us doing good things and growing and understanding, and then we fall back, or just our humanness is exposed as it often is, may we take the Lord's rebuke with grace, and he will empower us with grace when we do so. Instead of saying sorry, which brought God's immediate judgment upon him. If we just say sorry instead of judgment, we get his grace. We get his mercy. We get delayed merited judgment. Mercy. Wouldn't you rather have mercy and grace than judgment? I think we would all agree. Well, thank you for joining me for this short episode. We are just got one more episode to do, and we'll be done with the book of 2nd Chronicles. I look forward to talking to all of you again very soon.